Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for September 3, 2022, the All DOJ edition. Today's edition brings us stories from the Department of Justice, and all of the stories are found on the Department of Justice news site, and they were posted within the last 48 hours. So if you've never checked out the DOJ news website, it's a great source of information for cases related to bribery and corruption. First up, Phillips RS North America, formerly known as Respironics, a manufacturer of durable medical equipment, has agreed to pay over $24 million to resolve False Claim Act allegations it misled federal health programs by paying kickbacks to suppliers. The affected programs were Medicare, Medicaid, and TRICARE. Our second story is that the United States awards a $10 million judgment and permanent injunction against 2 Michigan companies and their owners for the sale of vehicle emission defeat devices. The award was granted against Diesel Ops LLC and Orion Diesel LLC of Waterford, Michigan. The violations identified in the complaint include the manufacture, sale, and installation of aftermarket parts known as defeat devices designed to disable or bypass vehicle emissions controls. Next up, Bayer Corporation has agreed to pay $40 million to resolve the alleged kickbacks and false statements relating to 3 drugs. The drugs are Trewasol, Avalox, and Baycol. The settlement announced today arose from 2 whistleblower lawsuits and by a former employee. In the lawsuit, the whistleblower alleged that Bayer paid kickbacks to hospitals and physicians to induce them to utilize the drugs and marketed these drugs for off-label uses that were not reasonable or necessary. So here, once again, we see the power of a whistleblower in bringing a lawsuit that involved fraud, waste, and abuse against the government. So Bayer to pay $40 million for alleged kickbacks. And our final story is an FCPA story, and 2 Marshall Island nationals who arrived in the U.S. Yesterday after being extradited from Thailand. They were charged with allegedly violating the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit those offenses in connection with a scheme to bribe elected officials from the Republic of the Marshall Islands in exchange for passing certain litigation, or rather legislation to benefit others.
The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.